5-1-3. Lycka till! Lycka till! Sju, 3-3. Tack.
Tu me l'as resserré, du coup.
Jag sa ja till något jag trodde de skulle glömma. Start good.
Well, welcome back to the final week of the 2024-25 BMW IBU World Cup season. We've touched down here in Norway, where fittingly the season comes to its conclusion on hallowed ground for Nordic sports. Up next is the women's 7.5 kilometre sprint. A quick look at the course that the athletes will be tackling. It's 3 loops of the 2.5 kilometres, 2 shooting stages, 114 on the start list, and 4 women who could take the sprint title today. Alongside myself, Ellard, former Team USA biathlete Chad Salmela. Chad, once again, looking at the permutations, it could go a number of different ways. Just 7 points, Francisca Preuss leading in this discipline from Justine Brassard-Boucher.
Yeah, the men's race was nerve-wracking. This is going to just be more of the same, tighter margin between first and second. Basically, it's up for grabs. If Brassard wins today, Brassard-Boucher wins, or Preuss wins today, they win the globe. It's that simple. But it's not that simple if they don't win. So you let in a lot of other people. And the women's competition has been far more equitable all season long. We have 5 or 6 different races plus the World Championships and a different winner in each one of them. So that stat in itself tells you how wide open it is still for the Crystal Globe, and it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. If you include the World Championships, Justine Brassard-Boucher is the only athlete who has won twice. Of course, the world champion in this discipline, Marketa Davidova, started us off with a win in Hochfilzen. Francisca Preuss, Paula Botte, Lou Jean Monod, and then of course in Novo Miesto it was Ingrid Lamarck-Tandevold who took the win. You look at the fourth name who could do something today is Selina Glotian, but it would take, Chad, a swing very much in her favour and very much out of the favour of the 3 ahead of her.
Yeah, it's mathematically possible. Glotian really is an outlier. If she takes the win today, then we'll start talking. But if she's not winning at any point in the race, it really comes down to the 4 ahead of her, or the 3 ahead of her: Jean Monod, Brassard-Boucher, and Preuss. And really, Preuss and Brassard-Boucher. It's a duke out between those 2 for this sprint globe.
Yep, and particularly Justine Brassard-Boucher, but when you add Lou Jean Monod into that, the 3 of them only have 1 discipline title each, so it'll be the first time that one of these athletes has taken another, and we'll go up to 2. Of course, Francisca Preuss competing for the yellow bib as well. She has 20-point advantage over Lou Jean-Monod. Actually, Lou Jean-Monod winning the mass start last season and the individual discipline, so she does already have 2 individual disciplines so far under her belt. But yeah, 20 points separating Franziska Preuss and Lou Jean-Monod in the overall. Chad, it is a very different picture to the men's, but we saw how exciting that the men's has been and how it swung back into as much in the hands of Stella Holmenkollen, but Johannes Tingersbo cutting the deficit, and well, hardly anything to separate for these 2 women.
And he took the globe home as well. The other thing is, the nice thing for Lou Jean-Monod, she's already got a globe. She won the individual globe. She's going to get that globe today in the ceremony after the race. So it's a little less stress on her today. But Brassard Boucher and Franziska Preuss. Preuss has never won a globe, so this is a big deal for Franziska Preuss. And she's been leading since basically the beginning of the season. She's won the yellow bib, the lion's share of the season, and you'd hate for her to cough it up in these last 3 races.
Well, what do you make of the conditions out there? The sun still beating down on the tracks, which we saw getting just a little bit stickier towards the end of that race.
Yeah, temperatures in the high single digits Celsius, the high 40s Fahrenheit, and the sun has been hitting the track all day. We saw the track not break down entirely, but get pretty slow by the end. With the sun going down in Oslo, I think it will help speed things up for the later starters. It's hard to say if there's any advantage at any point in the start order. I think that it's going to be a relatively similar skiing affair for just about everybody in the field.
Well, the stadium packed out. It really is an incredible atmosphere for this final weekend of racing. Double days every day. This is our second race of the day here. We can see Darcy Morton wearing bib number 2. And of course, this race playing into the qualification as well for not just the pursuit tomorrow with the top 60, but also the mass start on Sunday.
See the first 4 competitors getting ready. That bib for number 4, Anastasia Kuzmina, the 3-time Olympic champion, has had a relatively solid comeback this year. She's had highs and lows, but fun to see her back in the mix for Slovakia. And you can see the shade. The shade is actually a big issue. You see the shadows coming in. This is going to help speed things up for everybody.
Yeah, and actually just to add into Anastasia Kuzmina, she's had her most success on these tracks. First out the gate, though, will be Salmela Comola of Italy. Poised and ready to go. Our final women's sprint of the season here on the 2024-25 BMW IBU World Cup. Salmela Comola of Italy wearing bib number 1 will get us underway. Personal best of 4 at the World Championships in 2023 in the individual. Here's Darcy Morton, 25 years old, the only Australian woman on the circuit. Qualified for her first pursuit of the season. Personal best setting Pontiolati. But it wasn't finished, followed by a pursuit. So 56th place in the sprint there at the start of the season.
Yeah, a little bit of a shame for Darcy Morton. She would have had a pursuit on a normal weekend. It was with Eva Bouvard of Belgium. These athletes in the first 15 are outside of the seeded athletes. They go to the B seed at bib number 15. Bouvard's World Cup. 26 starts for the Belgian athlete.
Well, Chad, we've spoken about the underfoot conditions, and you can see particularly there just how slushy it is as Anastasia Kuzmina takes one final deep breath and is ready to go here on a course that she's had plenty of success on over the years. But Chad, these tracks, this circuit as a whole, what are the challenges here in Oslo?
Well, you climb for most of the first, for each loop you climb for the most part for the first almost 2 kilometers at that 1.7 kilometer mark. So you have to be warmed up well, and then you have to pace it well. I think that this course, especially if it starts to break down even further, you've got to make sure you've got some ability to push at the end of the race. So, but it is largely downhill into the shooting range. It's not the most challenging of shooting as far as your heart rate going into the range. It's actually pretty manageable. But as we said, the sun seemed to mess with the men in the prone. A lot of first shots missed. And then also the wind can be a factor here, although today looks pretty relatively calm for a sunny day.
Yeah, slight movement through some of the flags, but we know it can swirl in the range. But it seems like certainly, as you say, Chad, that the sun was the big problem as we see Lou Jean Monod just going through her final preparations. Tomasheva of Romania.
Yeah, they said in the men's competition, you don't see it here because you're on flat ground, but you're actually, this Holmenkollen venue is on the top of a huge hill that overlooks Oslo. In fact, that ski jump you see in the background can be seen from anywhere in the city. And that's how front and center the culture is in the sport is in the culture of Norwegian popular culture. But the shooting range is actually, it's tucked into a hillside, but it's on the top of this hill. So the wind, if it comes off the ocean, can swirl in that shooting range. It can make shooting conditions here very difficult. But it looks pretty in control today.
Stunning venue, isn't it? So picturesque.
Yeah, you can feel its place in the culture of Norway. They have a huge ski museum under that ski jump, that very distinct ski jump that was designed architecturally for the 2011 Nordic World Championships that were held here. But if you are a ski fan, you've ever been to Oslo, or you're going to Oslo, make sure that you make that ski museum a part of your itinerary. It's a really cool place.
Well, exactly the same time through 900 metres for our first two athletes out on the course, Darcy Morton and Salmela Formula. Here's Ellard of Belgium.
Yeah, it makes you kind of wonder, is there something wrong with the timing clock? But there, Ellard comes in 3.1 seconds ahead of Salmela and Morton. So timing check is working correctly at 0.9 kilometer. Women's course a little bit shorter. It's a half a kilometer shorter, or 0.8 of a kilometer shorter than the men's course.
That is Jasmina. 10 career sprint wins. The world champion in this discipline in 2019, of course, at the end of that season did retire before coming back out of retirement to compete here. Has worked her way up through the IBU Cup to earn a place on the back on the team, and is 5 tenths of a second down on the time of Ellard.
So second place for Kuzmina. Trying to look ahead of who will be the first one to run through that time check and probably set a quicker time in the rest of the field. And this is the one I was thinking of right here, Ida Lien.
Yeah, absolutely. The 27-year-old who was the fastest on the skis in Pokluka, performing really well in challenging conditions, adapting to what was a very changed schedule because of how warm it was, very slushy, very wet. And well, Chad, in terms of the snow, even though it's sunny, it's not wet, which is much to the advantage of the athletes today.
Yeah, and Leanne is a good skier. That'll help her in this competition. And she's a very strong prone shooter. She's 93% hit rate, but her real problem in the sport has always been the standing shooting. She's at 64% this year. That's a percent up from last year at 63%. And she hit her career high standing percent rate back in 2023 with 70. So she's never shot better than 70% for a season in the standing.
Natalia Sidolovic started really well in Kontiolahti, finishing 4th in the short individual. That's her personal best that has stood since then. Able to break onto the podium since that encouraging start.
Still a solid performance over the course of the season for the young Pole. She's currently sitting 34th in the overall standings, which is a slight bit better than she was last season, and she was 50th. Didn't even score worth of points 2 seasons ago. So on the way up, the young Pole.
Coming into the range for the first time, Samuela Komala, bib number 1.
Komala's been close to the podium. She's been 4th on one occasion. That was in an individual at the World Championships in Orhoff 2 years ago.
Well, a good angle there, Chad, that showed that it is certainly more in the shade now, the range, in comparison to what it was for the men earlier on today.
Yeah, and I don't want to assert that the men were missing because of the bright sunlight, but when you've been looking at bright sunlight on the course that's reflecting off the snow and you come in and try to shoot, the contrast in light from going from that brightness to the darkness might be the reason we saw a lot of misses on the first shot for the men.
And a miss for Samuela Komala, it'll be once around the penalty loop. Darcy Morton pulls up.
this flat light definitely a lot easier for the eye to adjust to as well. You find that rainy days are really good shooting days because the light is so flat that you can really contrast when you look through the aperture. Your eyes can really very easily contrast the fine details of the black dot inside the white background. Slow cadence from Darcy Morton, but she's knocking them all down. Nice, stable performance.
Yep, good considered shooting, 5 out of 5.
Should take the lead as Boulevard starts with the miss. 2.
Sykes accordingly now.
Yeah, she seems lost, doesn't know where she is on the range. Oh, just 0.2 of a second now. Idalien starting things off pretty conservatively at 0.9 kilometers, just trailing Bouvard by 0.2 of a second. That's a bit of a surprise.
A miss on the first for Anastasia Kuzmina, who comes in the lead, 18.4 seconds.
My light contrast theory doesn't fit here with Kuzmina.
She did take a look up, removed her eye to just maybe that was something to do with the wind. Ingrid Landmark-Sandervold.
Yeah, if Idalien isn't going to pick up the pace at the 0.9 kilometer mark, this would be my next favorite to do it.
Sprint winner. Another messed up. Well, a very important win in the story of her season. It's been one of more lows than highs, but a really important victory and one she'll try and replicate today. Here's Tamara Steiner of Austria.
Steiner just in her started 60 World Cups, so has some experience under her belt. Personal best, 13th. Currently ranked 62nd in the overall standings, 63rd in the sprint standings. And now the speedster who learned how to shoot last week.
Anna-Maria Lampic, who on home snow, it all came together. And well, Chad, it was a spectacular watch, and one that you've gone to watch back on a number of occasions, just because in terms of considered races, it was the best we've seen of this athlete.
Yeah, I had to go back. It was just the interest, the coach in me went back, and I wanted to watch her race from start to finish from what we could see of it. And I just focused on that whole race and watching her. I have to say, it was the most conservative I've ever seen her ski in a biathlon race, and I think that there's no mystery as to why she hit 19 for 20 in that mass start and took a podium finish. She discovered what biathlon is all about.
Well, we've been waiting for it, haven't we? And her best performance in a 4 shooting stage race, and her second podium. Here's Elisa Gaspelan, who will call time on her career after the next races here in Oslo. She'll be hoping to find her way into the pursuit.
And so far, Darcy Morton's continuing to hold the lead for Australia at the first shooting point. That's just kind of a fun stat to see an Australian at the front of the order.
With 2 other athletes going clean as well, Chad.
Yeah, so she's skiing well as Darcy Morton. She's 14 seconds ahead of both Tomacheva and Sledmark. Gasparin, though, 3.4 seconds faster than Morton. Morton was clean. Nice center hit there for Gasparin. 4 o'clock just inside. 5 o'clock just inside. 6 o'clock or 12 o'clock just inside.
5 for Elisa Gaspalan.
And she'll take a comfortable lead over Darcy Morton. Maybe not quite double digits, 7.6 seconds, so a nice start for her.
I would have been so proud to watch on as her sister won Switzerland their first ever gold medal in a relay in the single mix last week. Here's Idalien, who has turned up the pace. You can see it there, all green coming into the range. 13.5 seconds her lead.
This is not the concern. She's 93% accurate this season in prone. And all 3 shots so far well inside the prone ring. Nothing even close to a miss there. Just all dancing around the X ring. That was the closest thing to a miss, and it was well inside the prone ring still at 2 o'clock. So good shooting from Lien.
Yep, a very good start for Idalien, who will take the lead.
It's not so critical to see that the shots are all in the same spot, but when somebody comes in a biathlon race with a pulse and puts the shots all right around the X ring, well inside that pro ring, it's a sign that they're relatively under control and not really have expended too much on the course. So Leon has more room to pick up the pace for sure.
Huge lead now for Anna-Maria Lampic. That's just under a kilometre, 900 metres in, and she leads by 5.8 seconds. Here's Regina Ermitz, who was leading at that point before Anna-Maria Lampic stormed around the track.
Ermitz had her best World Cup finish so far of her career in 8th this year, starting in the opening Kontiolahti short individual. She's 4 for 5. It's not going to keep her among the top athletes by the end of the day.
Holmenkollen coming in 12.1 seconds behind Ida Liam.
Just 27 years of age, has a lot of experience, but starts with a miss. Often has paired up with Jakob Falk for the single mixed relays. Here now the time of Ingrid Landmark Tandervold. Kuzmina's time, the time to beat, still at the 1.9 kilometer mark, and she's just 1/10 off that pace. But remember, Lampic behind her is 5.8 seconds ahead of her at the 0.9 kilometer mark.
Sophia Schneider of Germany, in 4.1 seconds down, but is 4 for 4, and that's now 5.
Schneider has a really distinct trigger squeeze. It's very quick, almost looks like a jerk trigger squeeze, but she's so quick with it that she gets the targets. It's kind of an interesting. When you watch her trigger finger, it's a little more reactive than I'm used to seeing with any success.
Look there at Anna-Karin Heidenberg, big personal best in Pokljuka, finishing 4th in the short individual.
Schneider clocks into 3rd spot now at the one after first shooting. Kristina Dimitrenko now 4 for 4, came in 11.9 seconds down though.
There is Anna-Maria Lampic, whose lead is now extended to 10 seconds through the 1.9 kilometer mark.
And it doesn't seem like the strategy she's used for the success in the mass start. She's going fast, she's pushing it. Tandervold now, good 18. Sitting in 3rd at 1.9 kilometers behind Kuzmina and Lampic on ski time. Moved ahead of Kuzmina coming into shooting, but now she's got a miss.
Had to ski off one penalty loop, but recovered well.
Yeah, skiing well compared to Lampic. 10 seconds back at 1.9 kilometers. Here now is Lampic. She's already made up her 30-second stagger on bib 19 from Austria, Tamara Steiner. So Lampic throwing a little more caution to the wind than what we thought we might see after her successful mass start in Pokljuka last week.
Stazi Kuzmina in for her 2nd and final shoot, has 1 miss next to her name. That's for Anna-Maria Lampic now. That's 2 misses. 3, it's all fallen apart for Lampic. And watch out, that's so disappointing after what we saw of her and her potential in Pokljuka.
Biathlon is never a straight road. She can take twists and turns, and the wrinkle that caused her to hit 19 for 20 is probably a different wrinkle than caused her to miss 3 in that one stage.
Lotte Lee of Belgium, who, along with Maya Klottens, has had a very good season. Formed best in 4 shooting stage races, and a personal best of 7th in the mass start on Sila Grand Bonnard.
Belgium does a really good job of using expatriates or half expatriates. Lotte Lee is half Norwegian, half Belgian. Her mother is Belgian, her father is Norwegian. And same with Maya Klotten. She's French, but has a parent with Belgian citizenship. So they do a good job of getting the talent that other teams don't grab hold of.
Emma Lunde retiring at the end of the season. A brilliant career in colours of Canada for World Cup flower ceremonies. And the 33-year-old calling it time at the end of the season.
She's had some great performances. Unfortunately, she just, the personal best, one spot off a podium. We was kind of hoping she'd get a podium this season, but not looking like it's destined to happen as Sophie Chavot now comes in with 23, 9.9 seconds back of the leader, Lien.
In the men's race, we saw an athlete who dropped down to the IBU Cup, coming back and performing very well. Can Sophie Chavot do the same? Podium in the sprint this season for Lynn Hopfilson.
Chavot is a legitimate challenger, even though she's been on the IBU Cup. It's mostly been her shooting scores that have kept her off the French team. Here's Elisa Gasparin now in the standing.
And Sister Aita in the prone position. The first miss for Elisa Gasparin as Aita Gasparin flying through, and we'll go 5 for 5.
Aita coming off that spectacular victory with Nicholas Hartwig in Pokljuka in the single mixed relay. That just has to buoy your spirits, and she's competing well today, challenging the time of Lien. And will she take the lead?
She won't. There'll be just 0.2 of a second in it. She'll go into second. Here is our early leader, Ida Lien.
Resettle on that third shot, that second shot. Resettling on the third as well. So far, so good. That was right on the edge at 8 o'clock. Lien, can she clean?
She can indeed. 10 out of 10 for Ida Lien.
This is big stuff.
Home snow. This is very big stuff.
This
Keep your eyes on the time.
Totally capable of winning it with another loop to go.
Well, she performed very well here last season in the individual, taking a bronze medal. She's into the lead, 16.2 seconds.
Just looking back to the first loop, she was 12 seconds slower than Anna-Maria Lampic, and Lampic is out of it with 3 penalties. Now Natalia Sidorovic goes clean as well.
She's 10 for 10, but she won't get the time of Ida Lien. You'll see it flick past. Be more than enough for second for now, though. And can she replicate what she did at the start of the season? First individual race in Pontiolati, taking 4th. She'd love to end up in the flower ceremony once again.
So that's something that we've been waiting from Ida Lien for a long time, is a clean shooting on the World Cup.
That's for Lena Happy-Gross. Well, here is the split yellow and red bib of Franziska Preuss.
And she knows that Ida Lien is already clean, so the pressure's already on as we see Anna-Karin Heidenberg come in 3.4 seconds off the time of Lien at prone.
Great end to the season. And it's a very good prone shoot. 5 out of 5.
Here's Sophie Schneider now.
3.6 seconds down.
Knows she needs to be clean. Taking her time. Resettles.
And a miss on the end. This is Carolina Oppigstad-Knotten, and well, that's 5 for 5, but she can't quite get Rifle back on her back as smoothly as she would have wanted.
She now challenges the time of Heidenberg, who just took the lead. It's tight.
It is tight indeed. 1.2 seconds she trails. We saw earlier on today in the men's race that a number sneaking into the podium with the odd miss, and certainly into the flower ceremony with up to 2 misses. But certainly the early stages of this race, it seems like you'll need to be quick and clean.
Yeah, and Ida Lien, I have to say, hasn't skied fast enough up into the second shooting stage to look like she can hang on to the win. Other days she would have. I think when she's skiing at her best, like we saw her in Poklukka, she can win with clean shooting. It's a question of how fast can she get around this last loop. In the first lap, as I said, she was double digits down to Anna-Maria Lampic, and on the second loop, before standing shooting, she is faster than everybody else. 8 seconds faster than Sidorovic so far.
This time to roll for one miss in the prone position. There's another miss, and that surely is her out of contention for a medal here. And that will seal the deal for Ingrid Landmark-Tandervold twice around the penalty loop in that final visit to the range.
Still nice to see her take that win last weekend in the sprint.
Natalie now down into the prone position. Just 2.6 seconds she trails coming into the first shoot.
Lien and Lotte Lee know each other very well. Competed together as juniors in Norway. Lotte Lee knocks down the first five. Where's she going to stack up in the field? We'll keep an eye on that as we go back out to 0.9 kilometers.
Yeah, Francisca Preuss not in the lead. She's over 6 seconds down. Here is Lou Jean-Minot, who with a special set of circumstances could find herself challenging for the discipline title today. She's already tied up the individual discipline title. Lotte Lee goes into third.
As you look at that 0.9 kilometer mark, Preuss is 6.2 seconds down in third, but she's 6.2 seconds down to Anna-Maria Lampic, who had 3 misses right to start things off. She's running just less than a half a second behind Ingrid Landmark-Tandervold. So right now, a good start for Francisca Preuss.
Yep, bib 22, 22.9 seconds down. And expert, Austria. Oh, clean shooting from Amy Beserga, 10 out of 10, very nice indeed.
We're seeing some great performances from the depth of the field now. Anna Andexer skiing very fast. She comes in, even with Ida Lean, just a half a second back and ahead of Anna-Karin Heidenberg. So she's going to throw her hat in the ring amongst the leaders as well. There's not much room up there, but there's a lot of them.
Still very much in the early stages of her World Cup career. Anna Andexer making her debut in Hopfilzen, the second race weekend of the season. And we'll go into 7.
You know it's tight when you're 7th place and you're 6.6 out of the lead.
Hannah Öberg, who's come into some good form in the final trimester. It's been a long time coming for the Swede, who struggled through the season. Aita Gasperan, 16.8 seconds down coming in, but clean. 2 misses now for Raniel van Steinevik, who was skiing very quickly, but it's all unravelled for her. 3 misses, that's her out of the picture for a top 10 finish, and she'll be battling to make sure that she can find her way into the pursuit tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what happens when you take a little bit of a risk and you just hang it all out there late in the season and you just go for it. From Steinevik just couldn't get settled and such a 3 misses. Now here's Ida Lien. Yep,
Ida Lien coming towards the finish line on home snow. One of the early bibs, starting number 11. The 27-year-old loves performing here in Oslo in front of the home crowd. A bronze medal here last season in the individual, and she will set the early time. It will be the time to beat, and she will have a lead of just over a minute. How long will it stand for? She'd love to find herself on the podium once again. Justine Bressard-Boucher starting her race, bib 54, and just 7 points behind Francisca Preuss in the battle for the discipline title. The world champion, certainly one to keep an eye on today. Here is Francisca Preuss coming in the lead.
Ida Lien putting 16 seconds and 17 seconds respectively on Horodna and Gasperin in second and third on that last loop. So Lien did have some power left. Race going well. Everything right down the center. Nothing close to a miss.
No, perfect first visit to the range for Franziska Preuss, who look at that, will have a significant lead here over Karin Heidenberg. Keep your eyes on the time. 7.4 seconds, Franziska Preuss leads, and that puts pressure on those following behind. Ocean Michelon flying since the World Championships. Here is Heidenberg. Clean so far, and coming in 1/10 of a second in the lead. There's the first miss, and that's 2 misses now. Her race for a podium is over.
Heidenberg came into today's competition with her best finish being a 4th place earlier this season, and the podium is gone now with those 2 misses. You can see Jean-Marc Chablot is a little bit miffed. He saw that the skiing was going well. That was a huge opportunity missed by Heidenberg.
Look at Suvi Menkinen about to begin her race. Here's Carolina Offenstad-Knotten of Norway. One well wide on the last. 9 out of 10 for the Norwegian. It's around the 150 metre penalty loop she goes.
Now is one of the fastest shooters. She's currently 4th or 6th fastest in the second shooting stage. Elena Hecke-Gross with 38-second range time. Lampic continuing to ski fast, but way down the order with 5 misses on the day. Elina with a strong last lap has pulled time out of everybody of the early starters, including Aita Gasparin.
Yeah, continuing to fight, being urged on all the way round. Such a big performance from both her and Niklas Hartweg in the single mixed relay. Julia Simon, well, not in the battle for the sprint discipline, but she is very much in the battle for the pursuit discipline. So looking for a good finish today to ensure that she can try and climb her way to the top. Of course, finishing position so important, so it's not just the points we're looking at today, we're already previewing those for tomorrow. Here's Lou Jean Minot in the battle for the overall Crystal Globe.
She's trailing Preuss.
Discipline either.
Just trailing Preuss by 20 points coming into this competition. So Jean Minot, a lot to accomplish this weekend. Starts right here. In it skiing, just 2.7 seconds back. It's nothing. That famous focus.
And 5 go down.
Almost on the verge of too slow, like over-holding. You kind of worried that she was taking too much time on the shots, but they all go down.
Well, it was such a good start to the season for Elvira Erberg, who spent some time in the yellow bib, but hasn't been able to maintain it due to illness. Here's Lotte Lee looking to go 10 for 10, and she does. That is a brilliant performance, and there has been something very special indeed about the Belgium shooting performances, particularly on the women's side. They're getting a lot right, and there's a lot to like there. She won't go into the lead, but 10 out of 10. And she sets off on her final lap. Let's see where it will land with the time. It will be 4th for now for Lotte Lee.
That's still great for her. Lotte Lee trying to hit her high water mark in the World Cup for her career. She's been 7th once before. That was earlier this year in the Master in Annecy. So Lotte Lee looking to step higher than 7th today, and she's on a good start to do just that.
Malin Trikaida. 64, certainly good challenge from later on in this order.
Only 2 seated skiers left behind her, or yeah, 2 left. Just Todorova from Bulgaria and Jean Richard. So Trikaida will have all the information she needs late in the race if she can stay in it.
Sprint podium this season. Here's Hannah Erberg, who's flown around the first lap, comes in 2.7 seconds in the lead.
So Hannah Erberg finding her fitness late in the season. We saw her skiing well in Costa Rica as well. taken the whole season for her to find that fitness. And was about to make hay with it, but then has a miss. And Ondexter comes in and misses as well.
Amy Baserga across the finish line, clean shooting, and into second, 12.7 seconds. The top four with 21 across the line, all shooting clean so far.
So just going back, Ondexter came into the shooting range fourth, and now is in the penalty loop. And now,
good start for Justine Brassard-Boucher.
yeah, look at the time, 7.2 seconds in the lead. So fast on the skis. Trailing by just 7 points to Francisca Preuss, who went clean from the prone. And she starts with a miss.
2 misses now for Justine Brassard-Boucher.
Handing the globe to Preuss now.
3 misses, and the crystal globe slips out of the hands. She was always going to have to beat Francisca Preuss, but 3 misses on the first, and well, now she's battling to ensure that she has the best start in the pursuit. Here is Preuss, clean in the prone position, coming into shooting 2.
Preuss so steady all season long. It seems like no matter what's going around her with the other competitors, she just keeps in her own lane and stays in a mental focused spot. That is the trick of this sport.
Yeah, she's spoken about it a lot this season. It certainly seems like she has a lot of respect for what the sport takes out of you, and she's really used that to her advantage this season.
So solid in position. Nice. Just executing flawlessly.
Flawless perfection. Francisca Preuss, 10 out of 10. And with mistakes from Justine Brassard-Boucher, that should be enough for the discipline title.
Never fancy or flamboyant, just doing the work, and it's beautifully done. And she will be rewarded with a huge lead over Ida Leanne by 23 seconds now.
Yes, and that is such a statement when you look at how quick Leanne was on the skis and staying clean as well. Francisca Preuss, one of the early starters, the first to get underway in the red group, and really laying down a quick time, clean shooting that those behind will have to challenge, and it will be incredibly hard to do so. Suvi Minkkinen coming in 3.3 seconds down. She's been struggling with some late season fatigue. To buy a medal in the single mixed relay from Pokluka last week.
But she's going well today, just 3.3 seconds out. That is some good skiing compared to what we saw last week from Minkkinen.
Yep.
She's in it now. She's in this race for a podium.
Yep, that's really nice. And here's Lena Häcki-Gloss, who finds herself in third for now, 15 seconds off the pace, 9 out of 10. As Suvi Minkkinen exits shooting 1, just 2.7 seconds behind Francisca Preuss, and well, now finds herself fighting for a third individual podium of the season.
Well, just looking at the shots of her skiing, the energy and the pushes look completely different than they did in Pokluka. She's back and looks fit right now to Suvi Minkkinen. She is a threat to win today.
Well,
she's never won.
Julia Simon, certainly right there, Chad. Julia Simon could also be a threat, and we've seen this more reserved first lap skiing from Julia Simon recently. She comes in 14.2 seconds down.
And she never looks concerned about it. She just does her thing and then slowly picks it up as the race goes on. But she's got to start with clean shooting.
It's quick as well. Look at that 2-second cadence. And that is excellent from Julia Simon. It's becoming trademark for her.
Fastest time on the range by 2.7 seconds in shooting 1. Paula Beauté coming in a minute behind her. Beauté is in this one as well, just 6 seconds out now. This first shooting stage, it's so tight at the top of the leaderboard.
And of course has a sprint win next to her name already for the season. She's going to struggle to do it today with 1 miss. When you look at the caliber of shooting that's been required to find yourself at the top, she'll be once around the penalty loop. Here's Elvira Urberg. Jean Monod first though.
River comes in. 2.9 seconds off the pace. That's 2 down.
Well, synchronized despite the varying of positions. They're both 5 for 5, and Lou Jean-Monod is 10 for 10. And, well, we'll keep our eyes on the clock as we go forward to Franziska Preuss, who is 23.5 seconds in the lead at 5.9 kilometres. We will have to cast our eyes further back, though, as Lou Jean-Monod comes out of shooting two. Here we are, she's in second, 5.5 seconds down, and that is a gap that she could close.
And let's just see just observe what we're looking at here. We're looking at a 20-point gap between Preuss and Jean-Monod. To win, to win over second, you get 15 points. It's the biggest gap you can get in the point scoring. So if Jean-Monod wins, she gets 15 points on Preuss, even if they go first and second, and suddenly it's a 5-point difference for the overall World Cup.
It could swing either way, depending on this final lap. Preuss could have a 35 gap point advantage, or Lou Jean-Monod could be just 5 points behind. Here's Malin Čerkaida with one miss. And it's set to just one.
Skiing well enough, just not quite accurate enough to be among the leaders. It's going to be one heck of a final lap here on this women's sprint as Preuss leads by 5.5, leaving the shooting range. And we still have the Uberg sisters involved here as well, but they are not really in the picture for the overall World Cup standings.
I'll focus very much on Franziska Preuss and Lou Jean-Monod.
But the Uberg sisters could figure into the point differential between the two. If they slide in between them, that could actually increase or lower the point gap between the two people fighting it out for the Crystal Globe.
Absolutely, and that is where our permutations start to get a little bit varied. So here is Hannah Uberg, who has one miss in the prone position. She's 21.3 seconds down, of course, having to take a trip to the penalty loop, and that will be now 2 on the day.
So they won't figure into the points, that point structure, but we can say right now Preuss has gift wrapped and gifted herself the sprint globe by, even if she does get beat by Jean-Monod, because that gap between the two of them is 53 seconds, or 53 points. And Justine Brassard-Boucher had 3 misses from the first stage.
And Preuss is getting quicker and quicker as she makes her way around this final lap. She's got less than a kilometre to go, 600 metres left for Franziska Preuss, as Jeanne Richard, the blue bib, just 10 points between her and Oceane Michelon in what is an excellent battle for the under-23 discipline bib. On the women's side of things, all tied up in the men's. But vicious battle in the women's between 2 French women.
Just 10 points separating the 2 French teammates in that for that group, for that blue bib. And Jeanne Richard starts well.
The gap is now just 2.7 seconds between Lou Jean-Monod and Franziska Preuss. Further down the road, Preuss is getting quicker and quicker, but Lou Jean-Monod is matching her every push. This is going to be absolutely thrilling, and Chad, it could come down to a few tenths of a second, as here comes Franziska Preuss, the split yellow and red bib, who has done enough surely today to take home the discipline title. Justine Brassard-Boucher, her closest rival in that battle, dropping 3 on her first visit to the range. So it will be a small discipline globe in the sprint for Franziska Preuss to reward her for her consistency this season. She is, however, desperate to take home the overall title for the first time in her career, pushing all the way towards the line. She knows she has to, because Lou Jean-Monod is challenging further down the road. Across the line, 29.4 seconds in the lead. And, well, Chad, she threw down a massive final lap there.
She absolutely did. Her course time on the lap 3, second fastest to Lompic, but she distanced herself by 9 seconds over Idalien in that last lap. But we saw that Jean-Monod at least put on a spurt out of shooting number 2. Here's Minkinen now. She's caught Oceane Michelon, which is a good sign. Michelon with some penalties. But Minkkinen skiing very well, just 5 seconds off the pace now, can throw her hat in the ring, and she could mess up that points total, but she's got to be perfect here.
Yep, and she has to be quick and find something in the final lap, and she's quick on the trigger. Look at that, 4 for 4, 5 out of 5, 10 for Suvi Minkkinen, who is perfect once again in the range. And this could be a third podium of the season. Keep your eyes on the time as she comes around the corner, run up to the time check. She'll have Oceane Michelon behind her, who isn't currently working into the podium picture. 4.5 seconds ahead of Lou Jean Monod at that point.
And Michelon might be the difference maker for Minkkinen if she can work together with Michelon, who's faster on the snow statistically season long over Suvi Minkkinen. That could be a formidable duo as far as pacing to the finish line.
Well, we have to remember that further back, bib 60, Julia Simon is clean. And well, she's been very quick in the range towards the end of the season, particularly through the last trimester. She comes in though, 23.8 seconds down.
Feels like a lot. I mean, she can shoot fast, but 23 seconds at this point is a lot to take the win. But what she's doing is setting herself up very well for the pursuit tomorrow.
Yeah, that's exactly what she needs to do in the battle for the shoot title. And this is stereotypically good standing shooting from Julia Simon, 10 out of 10. And that's just become trademark now, Chad.
Yeah, and she may have the ski speed. She may have been holding back enough to actually contest this last loop. But those first 10 shots for her, it's almost like the first 10 shots of a 30 shot sprint pursuit double, and she gets the first 10.
Well, Viola Urberg is clean in the prone position. She's coming in the lead.
But misses.
Yep.
Couldn't quite get into the story. But look at the time. She still might have a shot, at least at the podium.
Well, she might have done, but that slips away with that final miss. Here we go then. Lou Jean Monod, 10 out of 10, and coming towards the line. Final few pushes. And she will take the lead. It's going to be so close. Will it be enough? It's not. 2/10 of a second. Franziska Preuss holds on.
2/10 of a second for 15 extra points. It seems to be that the Norse gods are shining down on a German today in the women's side.
Well, we said it further around the course, Chad. It could come to 10th of a second. 2/10 of a second. Lou Jean Monod falling behind Franziska Preuss.
It just doesn't get any closer. Well, 2/10 of a second could make it closer, but the amount of that hung on those 2/10 of a second is just astronomical.
But can it all change here? Suvi Minkkinen is battling, and well, there you can see Oceane Michelon has gone round the outside of her, and you can see, Chad, it's become very laboured now for Suvi Minkkinen.
Yeah, she can't hang with Oceane Michelon, who has two misses on the day. And she probably would have needed to stay with her to have a chance of taking the time out of the 2 leaders from the second shooting stage. She's down 10 seconds now, so she's lost 6 seconds since the shooting range. Uni Arniklive with a miss late in the order. Chikaida, 64. Another miss for her as well. So just Jean Richard left. And Todorova. Todorova's clean from the prone. She enters the shooting range 24 seconds back. Not likely to take a podium with that time, but still in the top 5, top 10. This possibility is the time of our leader, Franziska Preuss, is going to come and go as Todorova starts to shoot her final 5 shots. Love the focus. She is on a mission.
Shooting.
Yeah,
it
just
really is.
Really good stuff from Todorova. She has really matured this season, and she's going to not be on the podium spots, but still, just rolling through the end of the season. Todorova is on another level than she's ever been.
Yeah, absolutely. And Well, she could find herself on another flower ceremony here. She goes into 6th. Keep pushing around the final lap. Here's Hannah Erberg.
Trying to move ahead of Beserga, and won't do that.
No. And slot in 6th for now.
Switzerland again.
Richard.
Richard trying to hang on to that yellow bib or that blue bib. She knows that Michelin has 2 misses today. There's
Miss
one.
now for Jean Richard.
So now it comes down for that blue bib fight between her and her teammate Ocean Michelin. Again, just 10 points separating the two of them.
Can Suvi Minkinen hang on to a bronze medal here? She'll have 6 seconds, 7 seconds between her and Ida Lien, but she's really hurting here. You can see it, the gasp for breath.
Yeah.
600 meters to go.
Under 7 seconds between her and the podium right now. So Minkinen trying to get her 3rd podium of this season. She's got about 500 meters to go when she turns this corner.
And also, Chad, we spoke about it earlier, the ski conditions underfoot in comparison to when Ida Lien was skiing at bib number 11, Suvi Minkinen now 58. And she's really having to contest with conditions that were much worse to what the Norwegian had for the final lap.
Yeah, just the sheer traffic on the course. Even though it's cooling off, it's not cooling off fast enough to refreeze the course. But yeah, definitely softer, and it's going to continue to get softer as skiers continue to push through it.
Stick with Suvi Minkinen.
Well, her chances of slotting in between Francisca Preuss and Lou Jean Monod is pretty narrow. She's going to split it by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, that as you look and see that it's now just 10 seconds with the wax text from the Finnish team urging her on. She'll need everything that she can get. The time of Francisca Preuss will go by, and in turn the time of Lou Jean Monod with just 0.2 of a second separating them. And now she needs one big final push to find herself on the podium once again.
Trying to beat Ida Lien. She may have done it.
What a season it's been for Suvi Minkinen so far. A real breakout, and she will have another medal. Bronze for Suvi Minkinen, who gave it absolutely everything on that final lap.
Martha Krogstad Johansson now with clean shooting. And she moves into the 11th spot. It's a nice performance for her from late in the order.
I'm actually looking at a little bit further back, Chad. Julia Simon falling further back off the pace of Francisca Preuss, despite shooting clean. She went through 6.9 kilometers in 5th, 30.7 seconds off the pace of Francisca Preuss.
Here is a woman who's already been on the podium once this year, but has a miss there. Paulina Batoska-Fialkova comes in with the lead to prone, but 2 misses will dash her hopes of another podium finish this year. Here's Simone now. Comes across the line, 31.9 seconds back into 5th.
Well, just really lost the momentum in the skis in that final lap. She does, however, put herself in a good position for the pursuit tomorrow. Camille Benet, bib 76 for France. One of the athletes that they've been able to call up as part of their quotas. That's her first miss of the day, 9 out of 10 for the French woman.
Yeah, not going to be a podium, but she's doing very well. Skiing even with the best in the World Cup. But that one miss will keep her off the podium.
Yeah, so just 24 years old, her debut on the World Cup after winning the IBU Cup total score 4-time World Junior Champion. And a good performance in the range. It has you look down, particularly like the top 10, top 15, you really had to be perfect today to contend, Chad.
Yeah, the shooting just really, really tough at the top. When you have Preuss, Jean Monod, Minkinen skiing well, Lean with clean shooting, Ida Lean and Julia Simone all clean. You miss two and you're Hannah or Elvira Ober, you're still not going to be on the podium. She's in 10th.
Todorova behind. She might struggle to hang on to the top 10.
Todorova still out there. She left the range in 6th spot, 27.5 seconds back, but there's lots of folks right behind her in the standings who may get her on that loop quicker. Here's Juni Arniklev now from bib 79. We've seen her name before. Bib 94 also on the range is Laura Wagner. Or Carolina Erdal, excuse me, 94 Carolina Erdal. She's 4th in the IBU Cup standings. Juni Arniklev is going to go, oh, I thought she might go 9 for 10. She'll go 8 for 10. Erdal, though, just 4.9 seconds out of the lead in the first shooting. Taking her time, though, shooting.
To resettle as well.
Really
Let's get the target down on the 3rd. Has certainly more flow.
A little more like it. It's a little bit of a hiccup there, but still competitive time. Looking at a top 10. Stephanie Scherer now, another of the German IBU Cup athletes. She's been on and off the World Cup this year. She's clean from prone. Not going to figure into the podium places, but certainly a top 20 possible still with clean shooting. A very measured approach to the shooting, but she gets them all. That's the key.
Well, here is Todorova. Perfect 10 for 10. Exceptional shooting today from the Bulgarian, and across the line in 9th. So it won't be another flower ceremony for the Bulgarian.
Yeah, unfortunately for her, leading shooting too, she was in 6th, but she had 4 athletes within 2 seconds of her, and they all got her by the finish line. So Todorova slots in at the finish line into 9th. Hannah Uber just ahead of her in 8th. Lynn Henke Gross in 7th. And Amy Beserga in the flower ceremony once again. So far, if things hold, she's in 6th. Simone 5th. Eileen 4th. Minkinen 3rd. Jean Monod 2nd. And Preuss is your leader. There's Laura Ristova. Should be a good race for her. But drops that one shot. A clean shooting could have been perhaps a personal best for Ristova.
Shamrashad. Sitting further outside the top 10. It's 15th, but the French woman.
She slots one spot ahead of Michelin.
Yeah, which is so important for the battle for the blue bib.
So she gets the better of that battle, but only grows her lead by 10 points to 11 by finishing one spot ahead of Michelin.
Yep, 3 seconds the difference today, so not quite as close as the battle for yellow between Francisca Preuss and Lou Jean Monod, but it certainly is a very good watch between the youngsters. Jean Richard as well will have another year, I believe, in the in this competition in the blue bib. She's going to wear her birthday falls.
Linda Zingale now, a very famous name in Italian biathlon. In the Antolz Valley. Comes in clean from the prone, trailing by 50 seconds. One time around the penalty loop should be a good, should get her into the pursuit competition at the very least. Here's Lucy Anderson now from the United States. Just 8.5 seconds off the lead. And she is a very interesting story. Just took up biathlon this summer. actually competed on the FIS Cross Country World Cup, qualifying for spots for the U.S. ski team in January off of the U.S. National Championships in Anchorage, Alaska, where she finished on the podium twice, but was already doing biathlon with the U.S. biathlon team and got named to the World Championships just on her skiing ability, which has been exhibited in this first loop. But you can see Anderson, good shooting mechanics, but just slow to get everything down. 4 for 5, that's good for her, considering she hasn't even done biathlon for a year.
That's Flock stud Johansson, 10 out of 10 in the range. But finds herself over a minute behind Franziska Preuss on the skis. 70 seconds back, she crosses the line in 18th. Amandine Monjean of France with 2 misses. She was bib 87 in her debut as the best performer in the World Juniors. That got her into this spot on the World Cup.
There's Paulina Batowska-Fialkova has those 2 misses from the prone. Still probably among the fastest skiers late in the order, though. As she comes in 57 seconds down to the leader, Preuss. Starts with a miss, though. He's 3 on the day.
Just keeps it to just 3 misses, so 7 out of 10.
You kind of feel that nothing left to lose point that she faced after the first miss, and they just went for it, and they all went down. Such a head game this sport can be. You change your mentality within the shooting stage. Come in shooting for a clean shooting stage and start with a miss, and then mow them down just because there's nothing left to lose.
Well, how many times have we seen that happen over the course of the season so far, particularly from one certain man who took his 40th sprint win today. 10 out of 10 for the Moldovan. Here's Camille Benet, 9 out of 10, and in to the pursuits very comfortably indeed, and finds herself in a good position as well, down at 13th, exactly 60 seconds back, and certainly a good showing from the French woman.
That's an amazing World Cup debut. 13th place in your first World Cup. I'll take that. It shows that Camille Benet was the right choice to be taken and allowed into this World Cup competition.
Yeah, the U Cup overall winner. Plechikova, another youngster who certainly shows a lot of promise for the future. Just 18 years old, bronze in the mass start 60 and the sprint at the Junior Worlds. And just missing once in the prone position. Carolina Ellard in the prone position, but really took her time.
Now she's got a nice rhythm.
Yeah. But 1 miss right at the last. 9 out of 10 for the Norwegian. Kolanen of Finland. And her first shoot, took over the shoulder herself. 26 seconds down, going through 1.9 kilometres. That now opens up to 29.6.
Final 6 competitors in the prone shooting now.
Cornelius Kolstad, who can feel pretty secure in the fact that Suvi Minkinen has claimed another medal, another podium finish for Suvi Minkinen this season. Just 1 miss for Kolanen. China. 1 seconds down. To their first visit of the range.
Well, if things stand the way they are, going to be a 15-point further gap between Jean-Monod and Preuss, so a 20% difference, just a 35-point gap into the pursuit competition. Well, they'll start basically 20 seconds ahead of the field.
It is.
Back.
I love how this has turned out. 2/10 of a second separating them, and they will start side by side tomorrow, Chad. And the head-to-head battle nature of this season as an overall season, coming down to 2 head-to-head races, it's exactly how we want the drama to really come to a head here on the final couple of days of racing on the IBU World Cup this season.
And that 35 point, those extra 15 points, they might just be a bit of a cushion for Preuss, but it really doesn't change that you need to win tomorrow. Both of them need wins if they want to take enough points out of each other to take the total overall globe score. We got a pursuit and a mass start left. And in the pursuit, Jean-Monod is way ahead of Preuss, 79 points ahead of Preuss, so it's going to have to take a meltdown for her to lose to Preuss in that Crystal Globe fight. But she's got Julia Simon 32 points back, who is now, Simone is in the picture, just 31 seconds back in 5th and going into that pursuit. It's going to set up just a heck of a race tomorrow.
Absolutely. Over. And the first miss. We'll find a few athletes to come through. Shooting 1. Andrea of Romania. 2 misses now for the Romanian, who started very quickly indeed, but quickly realised that she had to slot back into her rhythm. Everyone now through, shooting 1. Yep. 2 misses. First solo World Cup start, part of the relay team in Ruhpolding. 2 top 20 finishes at the World Juniors. Lucy Anderson, just 1 miss in the prone. 9 seconds down. There's another miss.
World Cup best is 41st. Flirting with that right now if she gets the rest of these shots down. Third miss for Anderson. She waited a long time, but she got it. Just trying to get in the top 60 and elongate her season by one more day. And top 60 will do that. She's probably riding the thin line on that. There's Annika Kozika now with clean shooting. Alicia from Croatia. Kozika's going to slot in the top 20 here. Just outside of it. Here's bib 94 now. This is Carolina Ellard, 27-year-old. She was 4th in the IBU Cup standings this season. Personal best of 15th in the World Cup. She's coming into the finish, and this might be better than 15th at the last time check. Ellard was in 16th.
16th, and there was just under a second separating her from her compatriot Carolina Ellard in 15th. So if she can rally here and potentially draw on the home crowd in the stands, she could see herself into a personal best, an equal best finish. Volodna of Ukraine with clean shooting, the athlete occupying 14th. Shkova. 8 out of 10. For the young Czech athlete. Well, all the way to the line, Ellard urged on by the home crowd. And 14th for now.
That would be a new PB by 1, so congratulations to Carolina Ellard starting bib 94 today.
Yep, unlikely to see anyone further back challenge that. Johanna Skottheim, who was given a less than favourable bib today, 93 she started.
Annika Kozica now of Croatia having a very solid performance here. Falling outside the top 20 now on this last loop, but hanging on to 24th with a little less than a kilometer to go.
Seconds down coming into shooting to Norla Kalanen of Finland. Funky Meng also in the stand position, taking her time to get to the first shot, but when she does, it does go down.
Keranen, nice job with clean shooting on the day. Same with Meng.
Yep, so 9 out of 10 for the Finn and 10 out of 10 for Funky Meng. And she goes out of shooting 2 in 60th. We need to hold a good final lap here to ensure that she does sneak in to the pursuit, the top 60 going through. Chirkova of Romania, just one miss in the prone position. 9 out of 10. Over. Going well in the final shoot, 4 for 4, that's 5, 9 out of 10 on the day. Franziska Preuss, the first woman to win 2 sprint races on the World Cup this season, including the World Championships. Well, Chad, just 0.2 of a second separating the top 2. A brilliant battle today, obviously with staggered starts, and it's set up perfectly in terms of the battle in the head-to-heads, and you can see the expression there of the French faithful in the crowd.
It's everything you want from a championship or a season-ending competition. There you see the World Cup sprint globe going to Franziska Preuss, 4:14 to 3:30 to 3:16. That was a little less in question between Jean Monod and Preuss today than the overall. But Preuss got the mathematical nod from the bean counters at the IBU going into this weekend, and 0.2 of a second gets her 15 extra points of a cushion. And who knows how prophetic those 15 points might end up being over the course of the next 2 races. It's impossible to say, because just a couple of misses out of the 20 tomorrow could be the difference between those 15 points being evaporated between Preuss and Jean Monod.
We're now slipping away from the pursuit places is Fonky Meng, clean shooting, but now dropping down to 64th after leaving the range in 60th in that final pursuit position.
Personal best for Kozica. Came into today's competition with a, gotta find it here, with a best of 56. She's going to do better than that. She finishes the day in 24th. Excuse me, that's a wrong time check. Comes across the line in 46th. Still a personal best for her.
And the sun beginning to set here in Oslo, Holmenkollen.
So with the final competition in the sprint competition, if you don't get into tomorrow's pursuit and you're not one of the mass starters, your season is done. Top 60 move on. Canada gets Pascal Paradis in 36th spot. United States with Dieter Irwin in 45th.
Yeah, and amongst the names who will not be competing in the pursuit tomorrow is Selina Glottien, who we didn't see at all during the race. And only 1 miss, Chad, but down in 68.
Yeah, something not good with her form. She's 9 for 10 and out of the pursuit start. It's sort of a whimper to the end of her season, and probably with all the sickness going around, you have to assume there's something ailing her a little bit to keep her that far off the mark.
One thing though is that she will have a day of rest, of course, before the mass starts, and well, she will drop further back in the battle for the blue bib, but potentially a day of rest needed. Also outside of the top 60 is Hannah Ockenthaler, 3 misses on the day for her. Maya Clottens as well, just 1 miss. So a few there of the names that we'd expect to see in the pursuit missing out.
Yeah, that's just the way the end of a season goes. Everybody's exhausted. They've been going for the American team. They haven't come home in 4 months, just for an example. You just get worn down, even if you get to go home. If you're Maya Clottens, you get to go home between the World Cup stops. It's still a long, stressful winter.
Someone who has made it through as things stand and looks set to potentially hold her place, although we have eyes here on Kyllönen of Finland, 9 out of 10. Down in 58th is Emma Lunder, who of course retiring at the end of the season. She had 1 miss on the day, 9 out of 10. We'll have to keep our eyes on the time of Kolanen, but it does seem, as you see the names flick by incredibly quickly there, that the opportunity for her to finish in the pursuit places will certainly go by, as you see the name of Emma Lunder there go past. Ingrid Lamotte's Handvold down in 55th. Lampich ahead of her in 52nd. That's certainly at the top. What is set to be a brilliant battle. And Chad, when you look a little bit further down, we know that across the board, the Swedes, it wasn't their day today, but Hanna Öberg in 8th and Elvira Öberg in 11th, which could, as we've seen already this season on a number of occasions, they are more than in contention to challenge for the podium.
Absolutely, and they're not really. Neither of them are really chasing any globes. They've missed too many World Cup starts due to illness and preparation for the World Championships. But they could factor into how the globes get divvied out based on their ability to move up through the field. And Öberg just 45 seconds back of the top 3 of the winner, and Elvira 50 back. The two of them could move through the field tomorrow quite easily. Funky Meng into 74th spot.
Malia Lemanova, so 9 out of 10 performer in the range today. But well off the pace required on the skis. And as we've seen over the course of this race and towards the end of the men's race as well, particularly those later starters having to contend with worsening conditions underfoot. Sabi Shea finishing down in 40th. Elisa Gastelin doing enough to make what will be her final pursuit as a athlete on the World Cup. Justine Bray-Sabi Shea, as I said, down in 40th. Which had, of course, we spoke about it there, the notion that it has been a very long season, and for a number of the athletes, particularly those that aren't based in Europe, they've been away from home for a very long time indeed. I just look at the result from Suvi Minkin and you know, particularly last week, talking about how drained she was and how you felt from what she was saying and some of the performances on the skis, it seemed the season couldn't come soon enough to an end. Sometimes when you reach this point where there's only 1 week to go, you can just let the final few races talk for themselves. Let them do the work and just sort of go along with the flow.
Yeah, I was talking with one of the athletes that I work with on the Cross Country World Cup. She's in the finale in Lahti, and you know, there's not a lot of for her to hang her hat on as far as physical form left. And I just said, you know, this time of year, you never know when your body's just going to show up, and you never know. You know, you can kind of expect it not to be there because you're exhausted. And I think that might be a case with Suvi Minkin, in that she got some recovery off that. I'm sure it wasn't a wonderful few days between Pokljuka and coming here. But the body shows up sometimes. That's why you train year-round, and why these athletes train so many hours, is because they need the bottom level when the floor falls out. They need to be able to build that floor back up very quickly, just with a day or two of rest. And when you have 8-10 years of training, 900 hours, that can happen. Even when you feel like there's no hope of coming back, you have that physical bottom that you can rely on, like Johannes Tingnes Bø. You know, he's coming off a sickness and he still won today, and that's the difference. Is he at his best? Absolutely not. But the basement of his best is still high enough that gets him the win in this time of year when everybody's tired.
Shauna Pendry, 4 misses, 4 out of 5 in the prone position. Finding things a little bit tougher in the standing, but a really good showing this season on the World Cup, making her debut in Annecy Le Grand Bonnard, and well, since Christmas and with the turn of the year, she's been a familiar face, a regular on the World Cup, and always challenging, Chad, for the athletes who come from the smaller nations to you know, keep that momentum, keep that team spirit going.
Yeah, and it just gets to be a lot of time on the road, and you have to also find the funding for it. It's not cheap to spend a week in Oslo ski racing. You got to find somebody to wax your skis. You have to find out how the funding mechanism is going to work for that. There's just a lot of people who support these athletes in different ways from their home countries, and tip our hats to all those people who keep these people on the course competing. Athletes like Shauna Petry and every single person in this World Cup.
Great to see British Biathlon put out a team, a really good number at the World Championships in Lenzerheide. Good to see that teams in the single mixed relay and the mixed relay. Andrea Mazdrellia, who's spent plenty of time in the penalty loop, unfortunately, today. 7 misses.
She is our final competitor, so with that, the 0.2 of a second victory of Franziska Preuss will counter the number of unlucky times that things have not gone Franziska Preuss's way, have almost sort of waterfall and cascaded into this season, where she comes ahead by the 0.2 of a second on this day she needs it.
Yep, she needs to continue competing, though, to the highest of levels, because, well, if 0.2 of a second after a big final push from Lou Jean-Monod isn't enough as a pointer to say what she's after this season, then I don't know what is. She will continue to push Franziska Preuss all the way to the end. Now 35 points separating the two. The sprint discipline going the way of the red bib and the yellow bib. Franziska Preuss taking her second discipline title, last coming in the 2014-15 season. Lou Jean-Monod, like we said, just 0.2 of a second behind Franziska Preuss. And another brilliant performance from Suvi Minkkinen to find herself on the podium for the 3rd time as an individual athlete this season. And of course, 2 single mixed relay medals as well. Jean Richard leading Oceane Michelon by just over, 3 seconds exactly there. And that's enough to see her spend the night in the blue bib even, ahead of tomorrow's race. The points gap will open up slightly there. It was just 10 points separating them coming into today's racing.
Yeah, they go to 11 points separating. The gap keeps widening by 1 point.
By 1 point.
It's great stuff, though. It really makes these last weekends of the World Cup kind of compelling and fun to watch. Is that these fights for the Crystal Globe are just they're sort of poignant. And Franziska Preuss is going to get her sprint globe, and then right afterwards, Jean-Monod is going to get her individual globe, and then they're going to go do battle tomorrow for the pursuit, the mass start, and the overall over the next 2 days.
So the final athlete to qualify for the pursuit today in position number 60, Jessica Hyslova of Czechia. With missing out today, most notably, Selina Glottien of Germany. Just 1 miss, 9 out of 10, but struggling to compete in terms of, well, you have to say that likely to come down to current fitness, with it being such a long season and coming to a head here in Oslo. She will have a day of rest before the mass start on Sunday. It also means that Suvi Minkkinen will jump over her in the overall standings and go up into 6th, climbing 3 places. And the confirmation of the standings in the Women's World Cup total score. Franziska Preuss leading by 35 points now. Lou Jean-Monod not out of it. She'll continue to fight all the way to the end. And a brilliant head-to-head battle to come with just 0.2 of a second separating the top two today. Of course, the top two in the overall standings will go head-to-head in the range tomorrow and on Sunday in the mass start.
Francisco, what a battle it was today with only 0.2 seconds win, which is also very important for you right now with the battle for the yellow. But tell us, did you watch Lou finishing and what were your emotions?
Of course, I watched the race when she came to the finish line. I heard it on my last loop that it's really close to Lou. Yeah, we are doing both such a great job, and I think this shows how high the level is right now. To shoot clean, both of us, it's really something special. And yeah, I felt quite good out on the track. We had good skis, so I was able to attack every meter, and it was also fun, and I tried to enjoy to run and whip at the last World Cup stage of the season. And yeah, I'm super happy and proud, and it is really a tough fight now.
And actually this win also brought you the Sprint Globe, your first discipline globe from season 2014-15, which has been a bit a while ago. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, it means really a lot, especially in these years. Yeah, it happened so much to me, and I also try to, had some doubts about the biathlon, and now to have this season, it's really nice, and to win the globe, now I feel a little bit more relieved.
You did a perfect job today. Congrats.
Thank you. Thanks.
It's confirmation of the results in the Women's World Cup sprint score. A second discipline title for Franziska Preuss, taking, of course, the mass start in the 2014-15 season.
But a 10-year gap, it's pretty significant in the course of a career. And I remember back then thinking we were seeing the future of the sport for women's biathlon in Germany, and she's had so many setbacks over the years that it feels like all of her luck from the years past that have gone unlucky and against her are now starting to kind of come back with that 0.2 of a second win today. That you got to chalk up at least some of that to luck. You see her reaction to it. Kind of feeling like you can't do any wrong.
On both sides, the men and the women, consistency has been key. Oh, isn't that lovely? Franziska Preuss going over to talk to Ida Lien and say, I saw your shooting, it was really impressive. How lovely is that? She's on top of the world at the moment, on course, as long as she can stay ahead of Lou Jean-Monod to take her first overall Crystal Globe, Chad, but still has time to make sure that she's congratulating those behind her.
Yeah, she's a great sportswoman, just a great personality, kind, and I think everybody on the circuit really enjoys the kindness and the outlook, the practical outlook that Franziska Preuss carries, and she really appreciates it all the setbacks she's had. She can only be gracious.
Prize-giving ceremony for the BMW IBU World Cup
Fourth victory of the season and a second sprint victory for Franziska Preuss. Just her fifth victory for her career, and 4 of them coming this season. Suvi Minkkinen, though, on the podium for a third time in her World Cup career, with all of her best results coming in the 2024-25 season. A breakout season, Chad, and an excellent story for young biathletes, regardless of the nation, to remember that it isn't linear success, and it's always worth just keeping on going. 30 years old and a breakthrough season.
I remember talking to her last year in Salt Lake City, first time I ever met her face to face, and you know, she was kind of buried in the middle of the pack. She's a long time athlete. I knew who she was, but she was kind of surprised that I knew who she was, being from the United States. And well, we know who you are now. The whole world knows who you are now, Suvi Minkkinen. What a year you've had.
Absolutely. A World Championship medalist and 3 solo medals. Lou Jean-Monod on the podium once again. Silver this time for Lou Jean-Monod, but it was so close, just 0.2 of a second in it.
And as good as Preuss must feel about it, it must feel doubly as bad for Jean-Monod to lose those 15 points by such a small amount.
Well, she was on track to do it, but 0.2 of a second, and a handshake and a bow between the two of them. There's a huge amount of respect there. Franziska Preuss on top once again. Her second sprint win of the season. Well, Chad, we mentioned it there, the fact that the last time she won a discipline title was back in the 2014-15 season in the mass start. When you look at her stats this season, 4 now World Cup wins. Before this season, she only had 1 win, and that was from the mass start in Ruhpolding in the 2018-19 season. This season has all gone the way of Franziska Preuss after so many years of it not working out.
Yeah, it was just she just had a spectacular amount of consistency. Consistency is everything in the sport of biathlon, and Preuss's consistency has given her this wave of success. Just consistency in her training, year after year, and more than anything, not giving up. She hasn't given up, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that has her where she is right now.
Not quite enough for the podium today for Ida Lien. It's another flower ceremony, her first of the season. Julia Simon taking 5th and finds herself 31.9 seconds behind. A brilliant position for her going in tomorrow. And in the flower ceremony once again, Amy Beserga.
A big applause for the winners. Franziska Preuss, Lucia Mono, Holmenkollen, Ida Lien, Julia Simon, Amy Beserga.
So the athletes will take a step away from the podium. And you can see there the globes just coming into picture. We will have the presentation of the Women's Nation Cup score, the individual discipline trophy and the sprint score discipline trophy as well, with Lou Jean Monod and Franziska Preuss making their way back out to receive those.
We continue with the trophy ceremonies, and now we'll have the ceremony for the women's BMW IBU World Cup sprint score. Number 1 and winner, representing Germany, Deutschland, Franziska Preuss.
It's been a long time coming for Franziska Preuss as she takes her second discipline title and her first in 10 years. The ups, the downs, she's had it all. Cutting her season short on the last two because of injury and illness. This time around, claiming her second discipline title, this in the sprint. It's a bit heavy. She'll be hoping for one that's a little bit heavier come the end of the weekend.
Let's hear it for Franziska.
Give herself a little bit of a cushion today by getting those 15 points. And that is probably the most beneficial 0.2 of a second she's ever earned in her life as a biathlete.
Well, how costly a 0.2 of a second will it be for Lou Jean Monod on the flip side as well, Chad? It's the tightest of margins, and it's exactly how we want to see the sport played out. And today, well, Franziska Preuss will be handed over as she is there. Shake of the hand and celebratory photo with Ole Darlin. After receiving hers, Lou Jean Monod steps up. It's also her second discipline title after taking the mass start last season.
World Cup individual score. Number 1 and winner, representing France, Lou Jean Monod.
Well, this globe will feel a little bit of a salve on the sting of that 0.2 of a second she's probably feeling. But Lou Jean Monod has been spectacular this season once again. And what a treat we're having in this final weekend of competition.
Absolutely. Chad, when you look at her stats, Lou Jean Monod, 105 World Cup starts and now 2 discipline titles. She's 26 years old and she's certainly got a lot of years of racing ahead of her.
I think her hit rate on the wins is the most standout thing. She, as we celebrate Jean Monod's Crystal Globe, before today, this season, she has had seven podium finishes. Every single one of them wins. This is the first podium finish that she didn't win, so her win rate is striking. 7 wins, it's the most by a French woman in history this season. So no matter what, a historical season for Lou Jean Monod, regardless of what happens over the next 2 days.
Yeah, also the first in a very long time to win at least once in each discipline over the course of a season.
It just shows her breadth and her ability, her talents are they're kind of boundless.
For the women's BMW IBU World Cup Nation Cup score. Number 1 and winner, France.
And France back on the podium again, Nation Cup winners in the women's event as with the men. Well, Chad, we've had a glimpse of it today with the young talent who have stepped up and really grasped their chance with the wild card, the quota places. And when you look further down, the IBU Cup and the Junior Cup, particularly on the women's side, it's so heavily weighted in France's favour for the future.
Yeah, they are the strongest team by quite a margin right now, I'd say. If you just look at the depth of from top to bottom of international biathlon prowess, it's never been better, and there's nobody really competitive. Even Norway, who is so strong perennially, doesn't have the depth that the French women have in biathlon. And we're gonna see some dominance now for a few years from this country.
Whereas has become a regular occurrence across the World Cup, wherever we've landed in Europe, the cries of Salmela blur around the stands as France lift both the Nations Cup titles. We'll be back once again tomorrow, 2 pursuits, with it all kicking off at 1:45 Central European time with the men's 12.5 kilometre, and following on from that, the women's 10K getting started at 3:50 Central European time.